the salient features, the noticeable or more important features of our constitution. So in this, today we will be dealing with, as of now for today, we will be dealing with these salient features, which first consists of single citizenship, then universal adult franchise, and what are the fundamental rights. Now moving on to what is single citizenship. Single citizenship is one feature which has been given to us by our constitution, and this provides, the constitution provides for a single kind of a citizenship, which means that all Indians, whosoever is part of India, is a citizen of India, irrespective of the state they belong to. Irrespective of the state they belong to, this means is that, say for example, you are a resident of Maharashtra and you have been born and brought up in Maharashtra, so you are basically a Maharashtrian. I'm just giving an example. But for in the Indian constitution feature, we will not say that we are citizens of Maharashtra, we will say we are citizens of India,
India.
and you may be the domicile of that state. So when you belong to a particular state, you don't become the citizen. So instead of being a citizen of a state, we become the citizen of a city. However, what happens in the United States of America is that there they have this kind of a citizenship where the state as well as the country both give citizenship. So in United States, there would be a person who would be a citizen of New York, as well as this person will be a citizen of the United States of America. But this provision is not there as far as the Indian constitution is concerned. So we are only citizens of our country and domiciles of a particular state. That is why the peculiar feature of our citizenship is, or rather of our constitution, is for single citizenship. In India, a person may be born in Punjab, Kerala, or anywhere else, but will be the citizen of India and not of that state. The main reason now why we did this was, there was a reason, there was a thought process behind it. See, children, whenever something is done and it is implemented for everybody as a whole, then there is always a thought process which goes back into it. And the thought process in this was that since we are a diverse, multicultural, multi-religion based country, so if we keep giving granting citizenship for the state also, so that would be developing, separatist tendencies. Now please note the word separated tendencies. Separatist tendencies are those kind of tendencies or feelings which come into the mind of the people, which make them, stand out as a separate group. So because we are a multi-religion faction, people would have that kind of a feeling that, okay, since we belong to a particular religion, so only those people should stay in a particular state and others should be asked to leave that state. So in order to avoid these kind of separatist tendencies and to promote fraternity, now fraternity word basically means brotherhood. So to promote brotherhood and unity in a state or in the place that we reside, it was decided by the constitution, that the feature of the constitution, that we will only provide for a single citizenship. So according to this Citizenship Amendment Act, we can grant dual citizenship. Now dual citizenship is given to people who are abroad, and they are known as PIO, that is person of Indian origin, who have migrated to other countries. So they can be given a dual citizenship in the form that they will be citizens of the country where they have migrated, and they will also be citizens of India. So there we have a provision of dual citizenship, but as far as citizens in the country are concerned, we only provide for state domicile and the citizenship of a country. Yes, Toshit, what is it? Toshit,
Ma'am, but in India, ma'am.
okay. So next we move on to is the universal adult franchise. Now what is universal adult franchise? It basically means that all people above the age of 18 years have the right to vote, irrespective of what caste, color, religion, creed, sex they belong to. It could be a man, it could be a woman. Anybody who's above the age of 18 has this right to vote. And this right to vote under Article 326 of the Constitution is known as universal adult franchise. So if we need to give an answer in a liner as to what do you understand by universal adult franchise, the universal adult franchise basically means that all people above the age of 18 years have the right to vote, irrespective of their religion, their color, their caste, their sex, whatever. and they are eligible to vote for the general election. Now, this aspect there has been a little change, because initially the voting age was considered to be 21 years. But then there was a provision which decided that according to that, 18 years will be made as the formal age where we consider a person to become an adult, and that person has the right to vote. So the constitution, the British had provided. In grade 10, you will be reading about the Council of India Acts of 1909 and 1919. But just to give you a brief of that, during the British time period in 1919, the Government of India Act was passed, and according to which they had introduced electorates, separate electorates and joint electorates, whereby they said that the people will have in a separate electorate only the Muslims will
Muslim
vote for
people
Muslims,
would only vote
and
Muslim representative.
yes, and Hindus
Yes,
will vote. So it was
ma'am.
a representation only on the basis of your caste and community. But this was later on changed, and a system of joint electorate was introduced. So this Constitution of Independent India replaced this system, and according to this, the resident voters of a constituency
Ma'am.
have to vote for the same candidate irrespective of his caste or creed. This means that, say for example, in your constituency tomorrow when you become 18 years of age and you want to vote for a person, then you will vote for that person. You will not see that I am from a Hindu background, or I am from a Muslim background, or I am from a Sikh religion, and I will only vote for that person. No, you will vote for the person who is standing for election irrespective of the community or the religion that person belongs to. Similarly, there are some seats, which are also reserved for the candidates who belong to the scheduled caste or tribes. So there also it is basically to bring in communal harmony. It is not to develop any kind of a religioustic tendency. So that is why for universal adult franchise, we need to understand that we have to vote for a person who's standing for elections irrespective of the religion that person belongs to. Any doubt anybody has till here?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Now I
Ma'am.
got the PDF.
You got the PDF? Okay, fine. Great.
Ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, Kavya got
Mandatory for the people to allow everybody to avail their basic fundamental rights. So these fundamental rights are the ones which have been granted and guaranteed by the Constitution. Now, why do we need fundamental rights? First, we need to understand this. Fundamental rights are basic human rights which provide the conditions which are essential for the all-round development of a human being. And if we do not have these fundamental rights, then we can meet situations where we will be facing discrimination, or there will be some kind of a demarcation between people of different castes, religion, color. So they lead to inequality in a system. So in order to ensure that we citizens of any country, especially of India, have an existence which is full of dignity, and we believe in equality for all. That is why fundamental rights have been granted to us by the Constitution of India. The fundamental rights are actually given in part 3. If you remember yesterday's presentation which I showed you, I had put in certain parts, that these are the parts of the Constitution which deal with these actions and sections. So under the third part, it is that part which deals with the granting of the fundamental rights to the citizens of India. Now, fundamental rights are basically right to equality. Under right to equality, then we have lot more other rights, which we will be dealing in the coming slides in detail. Next is right to freedom. Right to freedom again has 6 other rights under this. Then the right to freedom of religion, right against exploitation. There is a right which ensures that the citizens of our country do not get exploited under any given circumstance. People of India also have been given the right to cultural and education, that we have a right on this. And the last one, the F right, which is there on the screen, is right to constitutional remedies. Now please understand that when we talk of these basic rights, all these rights which I have mentioned here, if any of these rights from A to E is denied to any citizen of India, then for that there is a provision of this right to constitutional remedies, which helps a person to go to the court of law asking for these rights which have not been granted to the person. So our constitution has ensured that all these rights are available to us at all given points of times, except for certain critical situations which we will be discussing later on. Rohan, just give me a second. And to ensure all these, we also have the right to constitutional remedy. Now next we move on to is the right to equality. Now this right to equality is one of those rights which ensures that people in our country have the equality in all aspects. Now equality in all aspects would relate to social, political, economic, educational, all sorts of fields. So under Article 14 to 18, these are the numbers of the articles which you must know in the Constitution, which talks about the right to equality. Now, under right to equality, there are further subdivisions. In this, we first have the equality before law. Now, what is equality before law is that this Article 14 of the Constitution guarantees both equally before law as well as equality in protection of law, irrespective of a person's economic status, caste, color, creed, or religion. The practice of any kind of a discrimination will be a punishable offense. Now, when we deal with this first aspect, that's what I'm talking about is this aspect, equality before law. It says that we have been granted all kinds of equality. And in this all kinds of equalities, we also have an equality in the eyes of law. This means wherever there is some case going on, or whenever there is some court of law to be dealt with, there also equality will be taken into consideration, irrespective of whether the person belongs to any particular religion, a person is belonging to any particular economic background, or the person has a different social standing. So those points will not be taken into consideration, and a very just kind of justice and the verdict will be given even if we go to the court of law. So that is what it means, equality before law. Under right to equality, the second aspect is social equality and equal access to public areas. Social equality means that, say for example, if there is, say you all have maids coming into your houses to clean the house or to help your mothers in the kitchen. So you might feel that, oh, belongs to a poor family and she doesn't have that same kind of a social status what I have. So maybe I am, have the liberty to demean her or to look down upon her. So to avoid these kind of situations, the Constitution has granted social equality and equal access. Please note down this word, equal access. This equal access means, like what I was giving you an example. Say for example, your maid has a son who's your age, or a daughter who's your age, and you one day happen to go to one of the shopping areas or one of the parks or the garden, and there you see that your maid's child is also in that park or garden. So immediately you will not go up to that person and say, oh, I am the one who has the right to avail this facility and you can't do that. This is what is discrimination. So that is why it mentions that each person will have equal access to public places. Now, public places are places which are meant for the public, which is not private property. Yes, in your own house, you have all the authority, all the right to allow entry to whomsoever you feel like. But in public places like markets, malls, museums, temples, or any kind of a religious place, it could be a mosque, it could be a synagogue, or a church, or a gurdwara, or the bathing ghats, or for that matter of fact, any cinema hall. These kind of places are the public places where you cannot have any kind of a discrimination, and anybody and everybody has the right to access. So that is what is meant by social equality and equal access to public areas. In fact, under this, the state, the word state here means government, has made special provisions at times for women and children. You must have noticed sometimes that when we have two sets of lines for some kind of a ticket to be bought or some kind of work to be done, we generally have a line or a board which indicates for women only, so, or for children. So there at least some kind of a little privilege is given to women and children based on the equality factor, that yes, some kind of provision, extra provision can be granted. But besides this, no other discrimination is done. And this is also not discrimination, this is just giving them an extra support since they are women and children. And at times you also find, if you have noticed in the public transport, especially in the buses, you would find a seat which is marked only for women or for disabled. So these are extra provisions which are given to people, just help them. But besides this, there is no other kind of a bias which can be taken into consideration, and everybody has to have equal access to all kinds of public places.